interesting too.
I'm always a fan of that, and I wish we could talk more, but I gotta hit a couple more points, or we gotta hit them, right?
Yeah, totally.
So
So let's
let
chat
us show
about.
this next part for y'all.
Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna bring this up now. What we have here is another section from the same video. Let it roll.
It all begins when one of the training exercises consists of 2-on-2s. That would mean that with only 2 players on the court, each of them would have to pull their own weight. One of those 2-on-2s was a match between Kunimi, who was Kageyama's middle school teammate, versus Hyakuzawa, the 2-meter giant from Season 2. As Hinata observes this 2v2 game, he wonders why Kunimi's team always does so much better. It's not like they were doing anything differently, but they just seem to have a lot of time. On the flip side, Hyakuzawa was doing terribly. Not only was he the least experienced person in the camp, his technique was also really poor. After he loses over and over, Hyakuzawa is down in the dumps, eating himself up over his failures. However, Hinata then asks him to try something out that could help him in the game. It turns out that Hinata had figured out what Kunimi was actually doing. As Hyakuzawa seems to panic for a split second, Hinata calls out to him, shouting the phrase, "Let's take it easy." That's what the key was. A simple technique requiring one to take it easy, where Kunimi simply passed the ball really high up on the first touch, so that him and his teammate got time to take a nice, deep breath and attack at their own pace. It's a play that most people watching, and sometimes even playing, don't notice, because there's nothing flashy or stylish about it. It's just simple and effective. So, Hyakuzawa tries it out, and immediately sees an improvement in his game. At the time, when I first watched the episode, this scene seemed like it was a Hyakuzawa moment, and it kind of was, so a lot of us probably didn't think much of this. But this was the moment that captured the essence of simplicity the best. This play encompasses Hinata's entire purpose for training here. This is a play that is fundamental, basic, and requires one to be observant of the game, especially when things are chaotic. This one play was the perfect way for Hinata to come to appreciate the beauty of simplicity. Such a little thing having such a massive impact.
Yeah, so I wanted to personally, after hearing that, I wanted to stress, they mentioned simplicity, and I believe earlier in the video that we might have shown, they stressed getting the fundamentals. And I'm a big fan, maybe because I went through all the sports that I played younger, and then even today in Valorant, going back to like rebuild my fundamentals has helped me immensely at improving at video games or sports. And having a good foundation with understanding the simple concepts and the fundamentals should be how you develop your more complex skills. Because once you have those fundamentals or the foundation, then you can understand how to like change that fundamental to maybe something special, something that's yours, right? Or something that your team can incorporate. There's many different examples. Like, for example, if we're going to say within video games, I would have said in Valorant, your ability usage, or when you jump peek, or just like we mentioned, the counter strafing, all of these things are like sometimes certain little pieces that can all be used to improve your overall gameplay. How do you get information? How do you take a gunfight? Also, another big core fundamental, I believe, in Valorant or tactical shooters is communicating. I saw a video recently, or a YouTube short, that mentioned a lot of people give just info comms, like where something is, or right? But less people would give action comms, which I believe Adu and I have talked about before privately, of like, what am I about to do, right? Because like sometimes that tells more for your teammate, because sometimes also the people that are like dead, yeah, they can calm for people and tell them like, oh, this guy's holding this guy's holding this. But you know what could just be a little bit better is the person about to make a play or do something like, I got this, you know? Because then you're less people that are involved have to like say something and distract the alive players, right? Because sometimes the people alive, they are hyper focused, right? And then more noise for certain people can be worse. Some people like myself actually love all the information like going through my ears. That's necessary. Too much is a little bit bad. I agree, is not my favorite. and I want the silence after, but I do want all necessary information personally. Do you have a take on that, Adu?
That is really interesting. Yeah, I do agree. A lot of time, like that there are certain basics, but then like you also need to think about like almost like the meta part of it, and overall strategy is one of those things, like even further back, but like in the middle tier of like playing competitive game would be like the communications would be one of those things, right? Where on that level it's like you have to like communicate information to your teammates, and then receive information from your teammates as cleanly as possible. Otherwise, like these things just don't. You'll end up not having as much success as you could, for sure.
There's like more mistakes end up happening when people aren't calming, or like there's disconnects basically.
Right,
Adu and I probably have seen it a lot throughout our careers in gaming.
It's easy to give wrong calls or get wrong calls, right?
And sometimes you don't want it to, like, I'm better about it now, but I will admit I've tilted off the face of the earth when people give me like, I heard something, I could have sworn I'm right, which is why I also will say, like, you should listen to your intuition a lot more than you think. But I get a bad comm from somebody and I like second guess myself. So I trust the comm and I end up getting wrecked in a way, for lack of better words. And I'm a little salty at those times because, like, I'd rather have just someone not say anything almost at that time.
That's fair, especially if they're not good comms, or like they're incorrect comms is like worse than actually probably not saying anything at all in some cases. But so that makes sense to me. And then like I do like that in particular the sort of, I guess, skill that was being emphasized in the video that we were just talking about is taking your time,
taking it easy,
taking it in your time, relaxing. It's very, very, very hard to do that in stressful situations. But I think it's very important, like that we throw it back to several of our episodes in our previous interviews, when we talk to actual, like literal professionals, and they're all saying, like, almost to a man, every single person has said breathe, right? Like breathing exercises, relaxing, like taking a moment, right? Like to gather is like just as important as any of the like more minor, I guess, like the more micro things, or like worrying about like, oh, where's my foot placed, or like, am I doing this with my shoulder, or whatever, or like, is my posture correct, blah, blah, blah. But like, like just taking that breath and taking that moment, especially to relax, can entirely change how your body reacts to, like, you're a little bit looser, right? Maybe some of the decisions that you make might end up being more well thought out, or even like that split second decision might even be better, just because like you're in the right mental space, right?
Yeah. So I'll piggyback off that. There's a point I was going to say later. Why is it important to take it easy, right? And I was going to say, when your body relaxes, like as you mentioned, it isn't as tight or like stressed. It doesn't feel like you have that extra weight on your body in a sense. And I guess you're able to flow because that mind-body connection that I think we've mentioned previously, it's more in sync compared to when you have all that weight, right?
Right, yeah.
Like your body feels how you think it feels, instead of like, for some reason, like your body's trapped in all that pressure or whatever, like with all that weight. Literally try running around with weights or something, right? You feel completely different, right? It feels off. Your body feels off, obviously, right? So think of it like you have that mental weight on you. So now your body may feel differently, but your mind is like fogged in a sense, and you're not gonna move as precisely due to that mental weight in a sense. And that's why I'm a big believer in like this concept of when to take it easy and how to like pull it back, basically.
And that is, by the way, that is actually the title of the video, which is "Take It Easy, Haikyuu's Greatest Lesson," right? So I think it's important for us to sort of emphasize that. So Mike, let's try this. Are you tilted?
I'm always tilted. Are you tilted, dude?
Dude, I'm always tilted. I'm tilted number 1, 2, 3, all the way down the line. I'm always tilted. No matter what episode, no matter what season we're on.